Let's talk about the economy, talented. Tom. Let's talk about the economy. Different take on the U.S. economy. Maybe it isn't really shrinking. Wall Street Journal. Economic output can be measured two different ways: gross domestic product or gross domestic income. For every dollar an individual spends to buy some good or service, a restaurant meal, a car, a doctor's visit, another individual earns $1 of income to make and deliver that good or service. GDP captures the spending side of these transactions. GDI is the income side. Some economists look for a clearer picture by averaging GDP and GDI. The average measure of output barely moved at all, rising at a 0.2% annual rate adjusted for inflation over the first 6 months of the year. This is more consistent with a stalling economy than one in recession. What are your thoughts on that, Tom?
Well, okay. My car was stalling, and it comes to a stop, right, versus recession. It's sort of like them saying, right? It's sort of like they're saying, it's not horrible. It's only terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
That's hilarious.
You're being too hard on us. It's not horrible. It's merely terrible. It's not a Category 5 hurricane. It's only a Category 3. Meanwhile, I almost got hit by a cow flying by.
Yeah.
Right? So I think this is spin. This is pure spin. So some economists look for a clearer picture by averaging. So this is nothing more than the White House saying, hey, we don't like 2 quarters. The 2-quarter rule is outdated. That's a measurement we don't like. We don't want to call it a recession because we don't want to measure it, and that's probably an outdated measure. Remember that 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so they're trying to find every spin they can because Bill Clinton was right. It's the economy, stupid. And
James Carville.
Well,
I think it was James Carville that said that.
But
Tom, come on,
Tom.
Know your people now, Tom.
He wrote the script, but Bill delivered it beautifully.
That's right.
And it was correct. And as we go into the midterms, it's the economy, stupid. And what's going on here is mainstream media is complicit in trying to find every way to sort of spin and to say that a Category 5 hurricane is not as bad as a Category 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Tom, what do you think about the fact that the Journal wrote this? Like that kind of surprised me. It seemed a little out of step for the Journal. I could see this from CNBC or Washington Post or what have you, but it does seem a little out of step that the Journal would publish this.
Actually, a great point by Tyler. Why do you say out of step, though?
Because I find the Journal
real quick, do you find them to be credible or not credible? The Wall Street Journal?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
And that's
continue.
my point, is that they seem to cut through the nonsense and the spin and really lay the facts. I don't think they're particularly one-sided. Mm-hmm. I think, if anything, maybe they're center-right. I think they're owned by...
No, they are definitely center-right,
I think they're owned by Murdoch's group, if I'm not mistaken, his media group. But typically they cut through the nonsense and the spin, and this seems a little out of step and just off.
So you're ultimately saying that you don't agree with Tom and you'd like to have a debate with him now on the facts, right?
No, I think what he's saying is, why is Wall Street Journal saying the market is not as bad where they're supposed to be, their position ought to be more of, we are in recession, rather, no, we're not really in a recession. So I think that's what Tyler is saying. It's a great question. Kramer, I think it was yesterday or the day before, they said, if this trend is showing that the market's going to come back up by the end of the year, and it's going to be a big uptick on the market by the end. I don't know if you saw that or not, what Kramer said yesterday about the market. The reality right now is no one really knows what's going to happen, okay? No one really knows what's going to happen. There's way too many charts that you're looking at that are going one side or the other side. But you have to look at a couple things. One of the ones is the next story that's coming up right now, which I'm reading to you. 3.8 million renters will likely be evicted in the next 2 months. That's a lot of people, Tyler. 3.8 million, right? As pandemic eviction moratoriums expire and rent payment relief programs, and across the U.S., a rental crisis is beginning to crest. About 8.5 million people are behind on rent as of end of August. That's a lot of people to be behind on rent. According to Census Bureau data, of those renters, around 3.8 million say they are somewhat or very likely to be evicted over the next 2 months. Meanwhile, rent continues to tick up and topped at $2,000 a month in June for the first time on record. Before the pandemic, rents have increased by almost 25% and 15% in just the past year, according to Zillow. Evictions are spiking in major cities across the country as well. In Tampa, Florida, evictions were 52% above average in August, according to the eviction lab at Princeton University. In Houston, they were 90% above average. And in Minneapolis, St. Paul, they were 94% above average. So there's different worlds people live in. The world Wall Street Journal maybe more lives in, their audience are earners. Their audience are people that are making money. And
Business owners,
I would love to see the average reader of a Wall Street Journal. Like many people may read LA Times, New York Times, New York Post, USA Today, you know, all that stuff. But the person that reads, like I've given Wall Street Journal to a couple of our guys and I say, look, my suggestion is for you to read Wall Street Journal. And they'll read it and they're like, the hell are they talking about? What,
like
I don't understand this. So I'm like, but that's why you ought
Where's
to
the
read it.
sports section?
You ought to read it to see what's going on with this. So they are talking to their audience that's in this world, and those guys are probably not going to be affected as much.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think the average income is, Pat, for somebody that's a Wall Street Journal reader?
I would say the average income earner reading Wall Street Journal is $200,000.
I was going to say
150 to $200,000.
Yep.
is
Oh,
what
you
I would
think
say.
it's that high? Really?
I think it's 150 to 200.
Wow, that is the 1% or top
I mean,
10,
I-
top 5%.
I think it's
top 10%.
By the way, you know, to make six figures is 20%. Okay.
Yeah.
So top 10% is around 150, 200. I think it's
Yeah.
top 10%.
Yeah.
That's about the number.
Yeah.
So I think that's their readership, and they're speaking to their audience. But
Yeah.
this 3.8 million evictions.
Yeah.
This 94% in St. Paul, or 90% in Houston, or the numbers like this. American people are feeling it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just go to the streets and ask them, how do you feel about what's going on with your finances?
So-
Well,
and they'll tell you.
This is Main Street. To your point, Wall Street Journal puts together something, says, if you take these two statistics and you put them together like this and look at this, perhaps it looks like this. Okay, great. Meanwhile, on Main Street, guess what? The party's over, and this goes back 2 years ago. The deeper story behind this, Pat, this goes back 2 years ago remember when the federal government prevented evictions?
CDC moratorium.
And states prevented evictions? Everybody's saying, wait, does the CDC even have the authority to prevent me from evicting somebody here in Atlanta? And apparently they did. So this goes back 2 years.
I'll give you a crazy story here. A person who made little less than $1 million last year, made good money last year. We get an email, and the email is, she would like to be the director of HR for Valuetainment. And I'm like, wait, what? Yes. How? Why? I know where you live. You live in a beautiful place in one of these high rises. I know what car you picked me up when we were going and doing the loan paperwork. You told me how you did the last 3, 4, 5 years. Director of HR is not a salary that's going to pay you anything.
Like what you're doing.
It's 1/10 of what you made last year is what you're going to get paid for a salary like that. Why are you applying? The industry is so dry right now, it's not even funny.
Wow.
Okay. LOs right now in America are not getting hit 5%, 10%, or 20%. They're destroyed. Tyler, when I say destroyed, I'm talking 90% dry. You know what 90% is? Let me paint a picture for you here what this means. Imagine you run a McDonald's. Every day to your McDonald's, 500 people come in. I'm just giving you a number. What would happen to that McDonald's if they went from 500 customers coming in to take 90%, only 50 people coming in?
It's over.
What happens to that Quiznos? What happens to that Jiffy Lube? What happens to that movie theater?
done.
What happens to that restaurant? 90% of LO's income is gone. Where is that felt? A card that sold for $1.75 million, Kobe Bryant card, last year, Black Label rookie card. You know what it just sold for on auction last week? $850.
Jeez.
In 1 year, it went down 50%. Who was buying collectible cards? Crypto guys, mortgage guys, real estate guys. You have to know that. That is felt, okay? Period. There is no... Wall Street Journal can write an article like that and say the fact that it's not really a recession, it's more like a stagnation, or it's more like a flat whatever. No problem. We haven't experienced foreclosure yet. It ain't going to happen for another 6 months.
Well, that was my next question. What do you think happens to foreclosures after these 3.8 million renters get evicted? So the 3.8 million renters get evicted. They can't pay the landlord who owns the house. The landlord who owns the house has no money coming in. How is he going to afford that second home that he's renting out? Do you see foreclosures spike?
Dude, a house that we just looked at a place. Do you remember the place we looked at?
Yes.
So we went in the balcony. I looked. The view was incredible. Right? The view was incredible. Look at that view. So we went. First
What are you guys moving into each other? What the hell are you guys doing? Tom, what about me and you?
If I move in with him, it'd be a bad
We actually
situation.
we did have a moment.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyways, we're at this place.
Back to the balcony.
What would you say about this? What would you say about this building? What would you say about this building?
The most elite building in all of Miami.
Okay, and the place we looked at. Can you give them a visual tour of what this place looked like?
Oh, that's the number one. Can I say how much the
Well,
apartment?
this is a house or a building?
It's the penthouse of
It's the penthouse of a 54th
Yeah.
floor.
High-rise.
Your elevator move
Yes.
comes up to the floor. I'm thinking about buying this place.
Yeah.
The entire place is 10,000 square feet. Swimming pool on the 56th floor. I mean, it's that kind of a place. We're gonna put parties, entertain all. So I want to buy this place, and I said I want to see this place.
Yeah.
I text him. I got the realtor. The next day we go look at this place.
Yeah, of
Literally,
course.
that's how it happened.
Yeah, boom, boom.
So we'll go look at this place. And the realtor says, well, they had it on the market for $33 million just last year.
Yeah.
But it's on a deal right now for $26.9 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was listed at 26.
It's a building where all the who's in Miami live in this building. Like
Yeah.
you say the names, they live in this building. And I'm saying names.
Yeah.
Won't say it, they live in this building.
Yeah.
Okay. So I look at the realtor. What do I tell the realtor at the end?
I'm gonna make an offer, and it might offend you.
15 million.
She says, "Don't offend me."
I said, I'm going to make an offensive offer.
10?
No, but I said I'm gonna make an offer, and it may offend you. But here's the thing: this thing's not gonna sell
Right.
for the number that they want. But I have cash; I'll cut you a check. But I'm gonna make an offer that's gonna offend you. You're gonna sell this for $30 million in the next 5 years. Exactly.
5 years.
I get to
Right.
benefit for being prepared
Taking
for the
the risk.
season. And you take a hit because you sat on it trying to sell it for a high price. So those are the situations where you see the top earner all of a sudden having to go from trying to sell it for 32 last year. He's probably going to end up selling it for less than half of last year. Okay. So these things that you read about, it's great for papers. It's great to get the stockbroker or the hedge fund manager to talk to his clients and say, did you see what the Wall Street Journal said today? They said it's not as bad as you. Okay, let's put another $5 million into the market today. But in reality, the real people that are doing what they're doing, it's being felt.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.